Hello, welcome to April 16th, 2022. We're on the other side of the midway point. Wow. Midpoint of April. Why am I startled by that? I guess it's just been a month. And progress is welcome, even if it's only temporal progress. This is my daily good life meditation. Something I do every morning. First thing after I get up is to remember my life objectives and principles and see how I'm doing applying these to the last 24 hours and plan for the coming day. First last night and yesterday. Slept good last night, actually. No surprise. No surprise at all. I had a fantastic day at work yesterday. Really just, got so much done. All the stuff, the worrisome stuff, I made forward progress on. Literally to the best of my ability. I didn't do my yoga because I was very busy. But I did, and what else? What else was it? Okay, so I really did good at work. I got all caught up. It was a Saturday or Friday night, which means I have 2 days ahead before work again. So no wonder I didn't wake up and think about work. In fact, the alarm went off. I hit the snooze button, and I slept for an additional 15 minutes. So I woke up at 5:15. I slept in. Nice, but I did stay up late. I did stay up till 10. Maybe that helped. Maybe getting the extra sleep helped. I don't think so, though. I've tried that before. It doesn't work for me. But I stayed up late because Miko and I watched Dirty Dancing on TV, which was the first movie we ever saw together. Way back in the 80s. Shortly after we met. Didn't walk as far as I needed to yesterday because the dogs didn't want to. I don't know what was up, but we didn't go our usual course. We went to the dog park and then they wanted to come straight home. So only got about half the normal distance. Still, that's okay because I measure it. First of all, the walking isn't a criteria for a good day. It's just something that I do, but I measure it as the average, not as the daily. So I'm still well over the average. Anyway, good day yesterday. Let's do the good life. 7 objectives and 30 principles that I use to live a better life. And these are, number 1, the first objective. 7 objectives. First one is to be always ready to die, to have everything in good shape, ready to have a heart attack any moment, and keel over and have left things in this best shape as I can, my relationships, my finances, and my life's work. And they're all in good shape. I need to call my mom, though. I know she doesn't want to hear from me, but I need to check in on her. So that's something I'll do today. So the second objective is to make good and effective use of time, to not be wasting my time. And more that is distilling out of the options, spending good time with my family and reading are those things that I do when I'm not working. The next objective is to develop and maintain good and sound life principles. These that I'm going over right now. Then comes the cultivation of good emotional reactions, becoming the type of person who reacts well to the circumstances of life. Then performing good actions, doing good things, where good is defined as the improvement of the well-being of others, particularly thinking others. And then recognizing my true limits and my true opportunities, so that I'm not wasting cycles, spending myself where there can be no good end. better to use my energies and my time where I can actually make a difference. Then finally, just to do one thing at a time and to do that thing slowly. Careful use of my energies and my application of myself to life. There's my 7 objectives. Now my 30 principles. Number 1 is the principle of war. To always be fighting against what I think is true, so that I can uncover where I'm wrong, and so that I can prove upon where I might be right. Because there's always ways to make it a little better, even if it's just a matter of describing it better. The second principle is the principle of reason, and the sub-principles of honesty, objectivity, and doubt, which is how I approach life. The skeptical, curious, honest frame of mind. Then comes the Homunculus, the little mortal reminder that I don't have a soul. Though I don't have a soul, clearly the soul is not something that's real. I do have a consciousness, this little thing that's operating right now, that's talking into the camera, and I can focus on that. And the next principle suggests that consciousness is only here for a short while, the Anchorhold. And it's not really that so much as that it can't connect with others. There's this gap and void between everyone, the chasm. I think of it as deep sea, and each of us is standing on a little rock in that sea, ultimately quite alone. And that can't be helped. Next is the home of good and evil. Right and wrong reside in our minds, the concepts that we develop and hold. They don't exist where thinking minds do not exist. The right and wrong do not. It's not out there in the ether, permeating the void of the universe. It's just right in here. It's another consequence of consciousness, good and evil, that is. Okay, next is purpose, and my 3 purpose are to be a good husband and father, to raise my daughter to adulthood, and to assist her as I can from that point forward. 2 is to be a virtuous human being, as I said before, looking out for the well-being of thinking creatures, all creatures, but particularly thinking creatures. And then 3 is the pursuit of my art, of my mission, which is the sharing of my good life creed and my story of going alone. Next comes the atomic principle. Everything is a reminder that everything is bits and pieces, atoms, flowing and changing and transforming. Then comes the principle of nature. Everything has some particular nature. Good to recognize what that is, because then we can deal with things in better accord with how they actually operate and what their motives are. Then comes the pirate ride. Free will is an illusion that is so convincing. I forget it all the time. But when I remember, then life just kind of flows. But it's the tricky thing is not to just give up and drift, right? But to actually paddle the canoe, despite the fact that every oar stroke is just placed just so. Next is maturity and the sub-principles of wisdom and fortitude. That's the way that I want to approach life, looking at where I've done well and where I've failed and trying to do better in the future, having the strength to do better. Next comes the social principle. We're social creatures, we need each other. It's good to remember that. And then public speaking, reminder to use, few words, slow words, carefully chosen and composed sentences. Likewise, the paragraphs, spoken deliberately, diligently, also with suitable pauses and silence and margins. And likewise, my written communication. Importantly to read twice the important stuff twice before clicking the send button. The message sent is the message, making sure that the message sent as much as I can is the message received. I had that instance of that at work yesterday. I had a very important risk to escalate, and I knew that that risk would have fallout with various people. So I composed the risk report. But before I sent it, I reached out to, via Teams, to everybody that I knew would accept the executives that would receive it. Everybody that I knew that would have some involvement in that, and that might perceive it the wrong way. You know, sometimes a sense of blame, especially when you're dealing with, mistakes and problems and such. So I reached out to all those people via Teams, and it's like softening the ground with artillery. But in this case, friendly artillery. I was sharing with them the fact of the situation and how we as a team needed to communicate that, and letting them know that it's without saying so. I'm not saying I know you're not to blame, because it really wasn't anybody to. Well, there is somebody to blame, kind of, but it's on the customer side. So, but no one on my side. In terms of this is like, I can't get into it without too much detail. My team serves the customer. If the customer's not cooperative, it's hard to be a team. That's the problem. And the customer's not being cooperative. And I need to find a way to go to the top, the executive level, to get their help or guidance about this. Either we can, find a way to get the customer to be cooperative, or plan B, in this case, there's a plan C too. Which of those options to choose? So communicating that to the higher ups, I want to make sure that everybody on my team understands. I'm not blaming you, or you. It's not your fault that the customer's not cooperative, because it could be interpreted that way. So I reached out, had those things. Once I knew that we were all of a like mind in that communication, then I sent the correspondence, then I communicated the risk. And I know that there would be no blowout, no fallback. No scramble to cover oneself on our end. That takes a lot of effort. That's a lot of what the job that I do is. It's getting through problems by finding effective ways to communicate without alienating others and causing hurt feelings, etc. And it's also about identifying challenges early and doing something about them in a proactive manner. All of that from public speaking, eh? Next comes temperance, and the sub-principles of suffering, simplicity, and apathy. Apathy belongs somewhere else. I really do need to move that. I'll do that this morning. Didn't I already? I did already move it. Yeah, I just have to move it in my head. Temperance, that's the way to live my life, controlling what I do, better what I do. What I consume, what I engage with. Yeah. Then next comes the horror show. Life is a simply terrible, horrible place. I mean, I'm not being a pessimist. It just is, right? I mean, turn around and there's more horror every angle. Good stuff too, but the horror really is horrifying. And I want to remember that I take life seriously, and I take the world seriously, and I prepare myself for the horror that's coming for me. Next comes the principle called that which must be borne, as in carried. And I have to carry things like my responsibilities, the consequence of my commitments. I have to carry my weaknesses, my failures. And I have to bear the fact of the horror show. Next comes the Feast of Offal, when we get upset and throw our upset into the world, let everybody know. It doesn't do anybody any good. It just feels good in the moment, like a venting, but it doesn't do anybody good. It's better to manage that more carefully and internally and deliberately. Next comes distraction. We distract ourselves through all kinds of things, all of the activities of our life, the hobbies that we have, the beliefs that we hold, so that we don't have to see the seeming emptiness of the universe, yawning and gaping around us. It's pretty scary, pretty awful, pretty empty. It really is the apprehension, the idea of an overseeing, guiding God seems to be a dream, a wishful thought, a hope to relieve us in some way from the terror of the horror of the horror show and the awful emptiness of a universe seemingly governed by laws we don't understand, and with no one seemingly at the helm. And if there is someone at the helm, they're doing a great job of disguising themselves, hiding themselves. And none that claim otherwise have ever been able to do anything sufficient to demonstrate that they're correct, besides masking that belief with dogma and authority and tradition and faith, which are no good explanations, at least for my world paradigm. Got to do better than that. Otherwise, you hold it all in a suspended judgment. Okay, so then I got through agency and the great indifference. Next is the best seat in the house. To not want to be anyone else or be doing anything else or be anywhere else, but to just be okay with the life that I'm living now and who I am and where I am and what I'm doing. All the while striving to do better, be better, live better. Interesting paradox there of satisfaction and progress, moving forward all at the same time. Next comes the Path of Wildness, which is a way to move forward from our current circumstance into a better life. I'm on the path now. I'm back on the path as Yumiko and I plan to go back to Japan. Next comes the risk of avoiding risk. A reminder to not forget about the deep level risks of life. The risk of not looking out for and maybe finding or building or creating the man or woman that we want to be, but just spending our whole lives satisfying the surface level expectations of home and hearth and family and career, security, all the while wondering, is there more? Can I make more? Can I be more? Yeah, you can, if you want to, if you so desire. And if you do and you don't, then watch out, because there's consequences. Consequences in old age, when we sense the time running out, and we sense the fact that we've been fearful and cowards, afraid all of our lives. Maybe we've got a nice, safe and sound and secure somewhere, but there's an emptiness inside that's never been addressed, and it's probably too late. So attend to the intent and that need early. Attend to that deep level risk, the risk of finding ourselves. Next comes sin and damnation. The sins in my worldview are falsity, to be untrue; credulity, believing things too easily; faith, believing where belief is the evidence for the belief; authority, believing things because of the impressive office and agency of those who propose the belief or uphold it or enforce it; dogma, belief because we're impressed by the grand tradition and the great scheme of things that have been created by those who came before. And then finally, gossip, which isn't a form of belief, but it's an awful way to live. Entertaining ourselves, distracting ourselves at the expense of others, at the expense of the shared story, sharing the story of others, namely the difficult bits. It doesn't do anybody any good. The consequence of those things all seven are damnation in the here and now, either because we wind up believing things that may not be true and wasting time talking about others. It's not just wasting time talking about others. It's wasting time talking about others in a voyeuristic kind of a nasty way. Did you know buzz about? Did you hear about? There's nothing good in that. That's certainly not a good use of time. Next comes complete oblivion. Since it seems we have no soul, and since it seems there is no God, it reckons there's nothing to follow after life is done. So the oblivion awaits. So I'm going to not waste my time. I'm going to reach out to those that I need, that I want to have good connection with now. And I'm going to try to make amends where difficulty and challenge have been found. And I'm going to seek to facilitate justice in the best way that I can. I'm no cop and no judge, but at least I can abide and promote justice in the one life that I've got. Okay, next is the Great Life Adventure. The suggestion to have and live at least one big adventure in life. You can have more than one if you want. You can have a lot of little ones too. But it's a good thing. It addresses that deep risk. In fact, it's the thing that does the trick. Okay, after that comes the season of philosophy. It's just a time of life to record what we've learned along the way, and whatever words come, especially whatever inspired words come into our mind. And then after that comes the bullseye aim, a reminder that we shoot for the mark and we usually miss. And then the uphill climb, steady, 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 up we go. Every day is a chance to move a step forward, upward, onward. It's tiring. It's stressful sometimes, but it's leading to every day, every step up to a new vista in a greater horizon. Next is arena and utility. Life is this arena for the development of principles and to help us towards objectives, help us live a good life. Next is nothing is enough. Nothing is enough. Got to get the emphasis right. A reminder that less is often so much better. And then finally, the last principle is the principle of fun, and the sub-principles of hope in retrospect. It's good to have a good time. The sweetest and most delicious form of joy sometimes, though, is in the anticipation or in the remembrance. So don't forget to enjoy that. It's very much so. Like I'm really enjoying my planning to go back to Japan. All right, that's my good life meditation for today. Now a plan forecast for the day. As soon as I'm done with this, I'll get up, I'll fire up the computer so that I can edit this when it goes up on the wave. And while the computer's firing up, I'll read my chapter of the Bible. I'm in Isaiah now. I think I might be in Isaiah 12 or something like that. Then after I do that, then I'll do an entry in my journal. And after that, I'll feed the dogs. Then to finish some cleanup, I'll do my house cleaning downstairs until Yumiko gets up. And then do some reading if she gets up a little later. I'll put some reading in, and then start our day. I don't anticipate necessarily too much to ambush me today, other than the usual things that are unexpected. I think I'm ready to handle them, tackle them, do them, live them. I hope you are too. Wish you well. Be safe, but not too safe. Take care.